Alrighty, guys, and welcome back to the NBL Show presented by Fox Sport. I am your host, Josh Higgins, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Jai Shadlow. Jai, mate, welcome back to the NBL Show.
Thank you. It's been 2 weeks since we've done the last episode. I feel like it's been a long time, but it's good. I think there's a lot happened in the last round that we can sink our teeth into and have a bit of discussion about. But yeah, very keen, very keen.
Definitely, mate. I just want to quickly make a PSA, public service announcement as well. We were supposed to do plenty of content throughout the FIBA break in particular as well. Unfortunately, that week, that Wednesday night, I decided it'd be a great idea to go down and play some basketball at my local rec centre and absolutely threw my back out, pinched a nerve in the bottom of my back, had dead legs basically for a week. So I couldn't sit down for an extended period of time. So still sort of getting through that now. There's still a little bit of frustration there with the dead legs still. But in terms of a number of other things as well, we are well and truly back on track in terms of the NBL content, especially now in the video form as well. But this episode, like you sort of spoke about off air as well, we're going to be touching on all things round 11, which was an incredible round of NBL basketball. And this episode in particular, we're really going to dive into our fan questions as well. So if you haven't already, make sure you go and check us out on X as well. At Josh Higgins Fox is my handle, and at NBL Pleb is Jai's. We'll be posting these every single week before our episodes as well. So all you've got to do is basically just comment on that particular post, and we announce that we are looking for questions for our episodes, and you go into the chance to basically have your questions read out here as well. So looking forward to answering as many of those, and then we'll jump into a round 12 preview as well. Very quick, short, sharp, and sweet episode as well. So looking forward to doing this as well. But Jai, let's jump into sort of what we've got coming up for the week as well in terms of our articles and our content as well. So as everyone knows, and if you don't know, you don't know now, go over to foxsport.com.au in the NBL section, the basketball NBL section. This way you can find all of our written content as well. So plenty of stuff. You've got things like NBL power rankings. You've got all the latest news and topics and everything going on, the breaking news, the exclusives, everything like that. And then you've got other little pieces as well, like NBL talking points and plenty of stuff going on. So Jai, mate, what are some of the things that you've got planned for the week coming up as well?
Yeah, so I think I've got a pretty packed couple of days with interviews. So with my NBL alumni, of course, everyone, if you are aware, we do an NBL alumni episode. We did Alan Williams, Jordan Crawford, and last week we had Antonius Cleveland on. I've got 2 in 2 days, which will be coming out next week and the week after before Christmas. And this will be the last one for the rest of the year until next year. So tomorrow I'll be speaking to James Bateman, who missed 51 points for Brisbane Bullets last season. I think that'll be awesome. I'd love to pick his brain on the conversations around maybe why he didn't return to the Bullets, if that even was an option for him. And then the next episode will be someone who I personally love, who's Grizzly Adams. My nickname for him is Tanner Groves from Cairns Taipans. So I think he's awesome. He's awesome to speak to on the phone. So I think he'll have some cool nuggets and some stories to give. And hopefully one day he'll be back in the league.
Definitely, mate. I'm looking forward to those episodes. And yeah, like Jai mentioned as well, if you haven't already checked them out, go and check them out. They've been doing absolute bonkers as well. And plenty of good insight into these players as well, who we no longer see playing in the NBL. But again, with all these players, we do wish to see them back in the NBL at some stage as well. And it's just awesome to see what they're doing and, what's been happening in their worlds as well. But for me as well, couple little pieces. We'll talk about one of the things that have dropped a little bit earlier in the afternoon, but a couple of newsy topics which we'll see throughout the week. It looks like potentially a Cairns Taipans forward is going to return for the first time this season. Again, another topic we will touch on very, very shortly. And I've also got a piece as well, which I'm working on, a little bit of an explainer piece on why Bryce Cotton never went back to the NBA after joining the Perth Wildcats and staying in the NBL as well. So I'm looking forward to diving into that one a little bit deeper as well. It's going to be an interesting story, hopefully, and one that everyone will get around as well. But let's get into our round 11 review now. An incredible round of NBL basketball, to say the absolute least. And you've got a mixed bag of, when you look across the board, results. You've got the New Zealand Breakers who go 2-0, beating the Sydney Kings and the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. You've got the Illawarra Hawks who knock off the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix in overtime on a Thursday night. And then on Saturday, they lose to the Cairns Taipans by a substantial margin as well. You've got the Adelaide 36ers going 2-0. We'll dive into that second game in particular very shortly. And you've also got here as well the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix knocking off Melbourne United as well, who also went 0-2 this round. So We'll start with the Illawarra Hawks, I think, Jai, because it's kind of in the order of the two games that we do want to touch on. Then we'll talk about a couple of topics as well that we've got. But this was a disappointing game against the Cairns Taipans with, again, no Jack McVeigh, no Sam Wardenberg, no Rain Smith. Alex Higgins-Titcher is obviously out for the whole season as well. There's a number of players on the Cairns Taipans team who are out. And for the Illawarra Hawks, realistically, they haven't had Sam Froling all year, so we can't even say that's obviously an out. Jonah Bolden, I believe, was one of the only major outs for the team in terms of a rotational player for the Hawks, and they just got absolutely demolished against the Cairns Taipans. What are some of your key takeaways from that particular game, mate?
I think the main takeaway is we finally got to see Europe, Andrew Andrews, of why Cairns brought this guy in. That was his best game by far. 27 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 50% shooting, only 2 turnovers, which is like incredible considering he leads the league in turnovers. I thought Kieran Galloway was fantastic, had a career high rebounds, and they just exploited Illawarra Hawks and just JaVale McGee. It's becoming quite a concern. And like Justin Tatum mentioned in the post-match press conference, he's like, and I quote, now everyone in the league knows, Illawarra Hawks don't box out. And I don't know if that's a stab at his team or they're just well aware of their disc getting destroyed on the inside like that. So Cairns deserve the win. But I guarantee everyone went into that match thinking it was going to be Illawarra by 30.
Well, that was, I think I was pretty close with that. I thought it was going to be one of those wins that just knocked off the South East Melbourne Phoenix. Now, I want to digress a little bit to that game as well. I know we're sort of more looking at the Cairns game, but a big standout for me was the statistical differences across the board between the South East Melbourne Phoenix and the Illawarra Hawks. Realistically, you look at the statistics, a couple of big words there, which are going to tongue twist me as well, but the South East Melbourne Phoenix dominated a lot of the statistical categories when you look at that game. And one player in particular, when we're talking about those reboundings, the offensive rebounding was just an incredible statistic as well. And I want to dive into one player. I think it was John Brown III, had 10 offensive rebounds and 0 defensive rebounds. And that kind of attributes, now bringing it back to the Cairns Taipans game, just their lack of intent inside. And Justin Tatum, I've spoken about it, we've spoken about it. He just looks so frustrated in such a number of different ways this season because he has obviously got a different team. And everyone, every time we post something on Facebook about the Illawarra Hawks and we say the defending champions, we understand this team is a different team. But the championship pedigree and DNA is still bled throughout this Illawarra Hawks lineup. They've still got Justin Tatum. They've still got Tyler Harvey. They've still got Will Hickey, guys who were there last year and played major roles on this particular team. Yes, they've lost Trey Kell. Yes, they've lost Darius Days. Obviously, Sam Froling's still at hurt. But the fabric of that championship team is still there. But they're just not getting the production across the board. And it is really hurting them as well. But I think when we talk about that game as well, we've got to give major props to the Cairns Taipans. 3-12 to start the season. Come out of the FIBA break. They had a nice little break as well. Saturday night, their first game down in Wollongong, and just played such a team brand of basketball as well. And this is only going to heighten, I believe, some of the results and performances we may see throughout the rest of the season when Jack McVeigh is fully back, as he obviously is expecting the birth of his first child, and Sam Wardenberg will be back in the lineup in very, very short time as well. So I'm excited to see what this Cairns Taipans team can do because I was pretty hot on them. I know a lot of other people were hot on them as well, just with the roster they had built. But I think now, hopefully, for Adam Ford's sake and the Cairns Taipans faithful, this is their chance to potentially get a little bit of a run going as well in terms of some good form and momentum. Now, we'll jump into the second game, which we kind of want to speak about. Game of the round, game of the season. The build-up was incredible. The game was even better than I think most people would have thought as well. I was there live in the arena. It was just such an emotional day from start to finish, in terms of him, and like him, when I say him, is obviously Bryce Cotton rocking up to the arena.
He is him.
He is him, and obviously the sort of pre-game stuff, and then obviously the game as well, and then diving into post-game and just everything that kind of went on for that 3-hour period, basically from start to finish, was just incredible. And Jai, I'll throw it over to you first, mate. What were some of your key takeaways, thoughts on the game, on both the Adelaide 36ers and the Perth Wildcats?
I watched this game. I'm pretty sure everyone did. There's no... it's not a shock to see Isaac Humphries tie his career high with 28 points and then see Bryce Cotton with 12 assists, because if you've been watching Adelaide games, they are literally like probably up there as the best pick and roll duo in the league now. And I think Cotton himself is fully fledged himself as a proper point guard now. He's not just a scoring guard. Like, he's reaching record numbers for his personal records in assists, second in assists behind PJC, who he himself is having to have to reach career numbers just to stay ahead. It was a good game. I think, I'm not sure how everyone felt with it, but I could see, even when they were down 21 points at one stage, I'm like, there's another run coming. I feel like just the way Adelaide were playing so poor for 90% of the game, but they were still kind of hanging in there. Perth played phenomenal. They played phenomenal. Unfortunately, it's played great for 100% of the game. And then you could just see the cracks start showing when it got to 10. More cracks start showing. Players get frustrated. Christian Doolittle was getting frustrated, which obviously, like, he had a good game, but as a leader of the team, he had a really poor 90-second period that not cost him the game, but put Adelaide in a position to win the game.
Oh, I think it did cost them the game, to be fair, like in that sort of moment. And yeah, 100, I understand 100% what you're sort of saying there as well. I've got a question for you though, before I kind of dive into my thoughts on this particular game. And I asked this to John really after the game in the post-game press conference, and he gave me the answer I thought I was going to get. And that was sort of based around, the roster being built to be an all-round team where you kind of get the production over the 40 minutes from different players at different moments. But when it comes down to clutch time, the last 3 or 4 minutes where you kind of need that one guy who you can go to, I don't think the Wildcats have that. And I don't think this season they will ever have that. But is there one player you think that can potentially take that mantle? Or is it one of those things where we're just going to see inconsistent performances late in the clutch because there is not that Bryce Cotton, again, type player for the Perth Wildcats this season?
I want to say JLA, but I just don't think he's that guy.
Is he strong enough though? That's my problem.
No,
is he strong enough to be the guy inside?
I can't get a gauge on this guy sometimes. And I think we're going to touch on it later with a fan question, but I don't think Christian Doolittle and JLA are similar. Like, they both play their roles really well, and Christian Doolittle needs to be that floor general who needs to make sure everyone is in check doing their role. David Duke Jr. is not that guy. Dylan Windler, maybe. He could be that guy to take the big shots. He's not scared to do them. But, no one has a Bryce Cotton, but no one has that guy who's just like, all right, I'm not going to ISO this play. It's me. Everyone move away. Christian Doolittle tried to do it, and albeit the 3 nearly went in. But, yeah, I don't think they're just close, but I just don't think they have that guy.
Yeah, I don't think they do either. I think Christian Doolittle will be made that guy. Is he the right person for that particular role? I'm not 100% set right now. If you asked me 3 weeks ago, I think I would have said that. I put that in my talking points article where he just had that berserk fourth quarter. I think he had 14 or 15 points in that particular game to draw the Wildcats over for the win as well. But I don't know. I look at the Wildcats and I go, all right, they'd knock off Melbourne United on Friday night, I believe it was, or Thursday night, sorry, in just an incredible way as well. But in that game, if you go and watch back sort of the start of the fourth quarter to midway through, Melbourne came back with a little bit of a flurry there because they just couldn't halt the momentum of a team. And I'm sat there at 3/4 time, Wildcats are up by 18 points or 21 points, something around that mark. And I'm there with a mate. And I just said to him, I was like, man, Adelaide's going to win this game. And I was like, Adelaide's going to win. I was like, I didn't feel like every time I looked up at the scoreboard that the scoreboard was a genuine reflection of the actual game, because it just felt like when Adelaide needed a bucket, they found it so easy. And every time the Wildcats would get on a run, it may dwindle out to 20 points, but it'd be brought back straight down to 15, 14 points very quickly. And all it took was a bit of a step up on the defensive end for the 36ers. And they were able to really get their wheels going, and just the momentum just ran crazily for the Adelaide 36ers. But I've got a couple of thoughts on this particular game, which is going to stop the Perth Wildcats in their tracks of being a championship contender as well. The way that they defended the pick and roll was just horrible. And I don't care how you have to do it. I would rather a big switch on to Bryce Cotton than you just double Bryce and allow the big to roll, especially when you've got bigs like Isaac Humphries, Nick Rakosevich, and obviously Zylan Cheatham as well, who are just devastating attackers of the basketball. And what makes them all so good, and Mike Wells said the comment earlier in the week to me as well in the press conference, we have the 3 best bigs. They do have the 3 most versatile bigs in the NBL because they can attack the basket, but then we saw so often They would double Bryce. Bryce would pass the ball to an Isaac Humphries. The help would over-rotate, and then you've got a Zylan Cheatham or an Isaac Humphries, depending on who is sort of in the dunker spot, just getting wide open layups or dunks every single time, and it was killing the Perth Wildcats across the game. And that was the deciding factor for me, realistically. You know, Isaac had an incredible game, 28 points. Zylan had a big game as well, and just was across the board outstanding. And then
Both
Bryce
had
finishes,
huge blocks.
yeah, and yes, and massive blocks as well. And then Bryce finishes the game with 21 points, and you kind of go, that's not too bad. I looked at the box score after the game, and I was like, 21's all right. Scroll across, 12 assists, okay. He's just had an incredible game for the Adelaide 36ers. Yeah. But it was just incredible. And I just want to give a quick shout out as well to the Red Army as well. Being in the stands in that particular game, the emotions, the applauses, the MVP chants, like it was just incredible to watch that. And just sort of, you know, I get goosebumps sort of thinking back to it as well. It was just incredible seeing, you know, the sort of look on Bryce's face, you know, heading into that as well. And it was just, everything was amazing. We couldn't see him on the court, and then he comes running out, and the applause of 13,500 people was absolutely
Unreal.
deafening as well. So absolute massive shout out to the Red Army, and obviously a massive shout out to Bryce Cotton as well. Now, we've got a couple of little talking points that we do want to dive in quickly before we do move on to some fan questions. So we'll take the next couple of minutes here to go along with it. Now, Javon Freeman Liberty, Jai, can you give us a little bit of an update into this weird thing? We had the NBL reporting something and the team reporting something else.
Yeah, this one's a weird one, and I think it paints a bad picture on Javon's history with clubs and that. So, we don't want to speculate and stuff. We try and keep it with facts and stuff. But like from outside looking in, the Brisbane Bullets reported he had an illness, and then a reporter during the NBL game reported that it was actually a hamstring. I think this was a clear miscommunication, and that hamstring news was actually for Lamar Patterson. Because then it revealed a day later that he's out for the season with that hamstring injury. So I get concerned, and I'm not sure how Brisbane supporters get. Is this like they sit back and go, well, is this the actual news? Are they actually telling us the truth? Because clubs do this. If people don't know, in clubs will say one thing and there's something else going on. Like it's all PR. They don't want to look bad and stuff, which I personally think they should just come out and just say the truth the whole time. And so with Javon, like his history, it doesn't look good. If it happens and he doesn't play next game because of sickness or something, I'm going to get really concerned and be like, the cynical guy in me will be like, does he actually want to play? Like, why did you come back? So, but the fan in me and like, you know, I want to see him play. I want to see Brisbane kind of surge back a little bit because I just feel like they haven't played with a proper roster this whole freaking season. So it'll be good, but I'm just concerned that the sickness is just a front for something else. So we'll see how it happens. So, but yeah, not good signs at this moment.
Yeah, and I think as well from like a Brisbane Bullets perspective as well, you kind of want to see him out in the court. They've got a good roster. It's starting to come together now. Players are coming back from injury. We saw Sam McDaniel finally return from injury as well. Tyrell Harrison, you know, they're just starting to build a nice core now, and Terry Taylor joins the team, doesn't have an outstanding debut game in the NBL, but nonetheless has a debut game in the NBL as well. So they're starting to build a little bit now, which is exciting. Now, couple from me quickly. Sam Wardenberg looks set to return this week against the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. He was very close, it did seem. If you listen to Adam Ford's press comments last week, it was all about, you know, game time decision. The next 48 hours are super, super important, but it now looks like he is set to make his return to the NBL. And like I mentioned earlier, massive boost for the Cairns Taipans for a number of reasons as well. So that's an exciting little return for the Cairns Taipans, and obviously for Sam Wardenberg as well, who everyone in the NBL knows. If you know anything about NBL basketball, he is a genuine star in the making as well. Matthew Dellavedova. Now, it looks like he is set to return to the Sydney Kings lineup as well. Couple of little details here as well. So luckily enough, was able to speak to the Sydney Kings today, and they've confirmed a couple of things to me. So basically, it looks like he is he's a possibility of making his return in round 12. But with their tight travel schedule, they do play 3 games in 5 days. So they play in Perth, in Melbourne, and then in Canberra. So
Wow.
traveling basically all three of those games in 5 days is obviously absurd. So they will well and truly manage him as well. So if people didn't know, an elbow injury which caused him to be hospitalized and have to be on antibiotics as well, which has seen him miss the last 3 games for the Sydney Kings, in which they are 1-2 in that particular period as well. So the Sydney Kings told me today that he was at training for the first time today and sort of integrating himself back into the lineup. So I think we'll definitely see him over the next 3 games, just with how short the turnaround is. If he's to
Yeah.
play in 2 of those, I think that's a major win for the Sydney Kings. But he'll definitely will play, I believe personally, from what we've all been hearing and everything as well, that he will make his return over the next 3 games. Now, Malik Lewis as well, Jai. This has been a little bit of a concerning situation for the young Southeast Melbourne Phoenix next star. What's the latest you've got there?
Yeah, this one's concerning. It only came out about half an hour ago that Southeast Melbourne Phoenix have revealed that now he's got a hamstring injury, which on top, again, I need to preface with people, teams do this because it's concerning. They don't want to reveal saying the real stuff. So they'll just say, he's got a hamstring injury. So take it like he could actually have a hamstring injury, but I don't think he does. So prior to that, he's got pneumothorax. So if you don't know what that is, it's essentially air leaks into a player's lung between the lung and the chest wall. So they get it if they get a hard knock on the rib and stuff. I'm not sure how he got it. It's quite serious. You cannot perform any physical activities or play any sports during this time. And I remember a few years ago that CJ McCollum got it for when he was playing for Pelicans.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I think, and they said he was out for 2 weeks, and then he ended up being out for 6-7 weeks and missed nearly 20 games. I personally think, and based on the reporting by Phoenix saying it's a hamstring injury, but they didn't actually mention the pneumothorax, which tells me it's still ongoing. It'd be pretty rough if he's got both. They didn't give it any timeline, and I personally think we will not see him until next year.
Yeah, it's a disappointing one as well because, I think for the people at home as well, it's just, I think it's it's a pretty bad, sort of punctured lung, collapsed lung type thing as well. And it's not an injury you want to have. And, obviously it's one of those things that's ruled him out for such a long period of time already. So hopefully he'll return back to the NBL very, very shortly and try to continue on his development and obviously bid to play in the NBA next season as well. But let's jump into some questions, mate. We've got a couple here as well, which I can see. So looking forward to answering as many of these as possible as well. Now, first one I've got here is from Swish. He's asked us, where does JaVale McGee rank among centers? Jai, what have you got for this one, mate?
It's a pretty simple question from Swish. I think he is number one. I don't think if we're not counting the team's record and everything, I think he takes clear number one spot. Don't be mistaken that JaVale McGee is one of the best players in the league, offensively as well, and there's no one who can match up to him. Defensively, that's a different conversation, but he's literally a genetic freak. I was speaking to Brad Rosen today, and he interviewed him. He goes to most of the Illawarra Hawk games, and he's in awe of how big this guy is, and he's unstoppable most of the time. There are times where he gets caught out on some plays and that, but most of the time on offense, he makes it look so easy. He's clear number one. I don't see someone like JLA. I love Tyrell Harrison. I don't think Tyrell Harrison is as close. But yeah, for me, he's my clear number one.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'll just give obviously a bit of context as well in terms of players who may be around the mix, you'd probably say as well. So JLA, Isaac Humphries, Sam Menenga, Tyrell Harrison, even Josh Bannon plays small ball 5 sometimes as well. Jesse Edwards is probably the other one in consideration as well. So they're probably your sort of 5 or 6 guys that you'd have relatively in the conversation. But if we're looking at, a pure center, and again, like you mentioned as well, going down the exact same pathway of you not having to rank them on wins and losses and all that sort of stuff as well, there is no better big man in the NBL than JaVale McGee as well across the board. And statistically, this season has just been absolutely incredible. 21.7 points per game, 10.7 rebounds, 2.1 assists, 1.2 steals, 2.1 blocks, 58% from the field, and 33% from the three-point line as well. So he has been absolutely incredible. I think he's been better than advertised, to be completely fair. I think both of us were pretty low on him coming into the season, maybe what his expectations were going to be, but he's far, I think, surpassed what we believe that he was going to be able to do. We've got another question here from Glass. He's asked, do you know what Tui's recovery timeline looks like and if he'll make it back in time to be signed as a last-minute addition to any team that needs him? Now, I don't know if this is meaning NBA team that needs him or NBL team that needs him. I don't know
I
what the
think he means
context.
NBL.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll go with the NBL. No way, because if the Golden State Warriors are
Nah.
waiving him due to this injury, their season far outlives the NBL season as well. So if they don't think that he is going to be a player on their team, if they thought, sorry, let me rephrase that. If they thought that he was going to make it back before the end of the season, there is no way they would have waived Alex Tui. So when you put that into perspective and you look at their sort of, playoff started, I believe it's in April and our season finishes in March, and I'm talking season in terms of grand final series, there's no way that Alex Tui will be back in the NBL this season, unfortunately. Have you got anything to add on that one, Jai, at all?
No, I just know he had it's a lingering knee issue from months ago, and it's been preventing him from playing in the G League. And I think this is just a decision by his camp to be like, look, it's now or never. You got to get it done to prevent. He's still so young. Might as well do it now. Recover, come back stronger next season. I still think he'll be able to find a spot in the NBA. This is not his NBA done. Like, no way in hell. It's just dotting the I's and crossing the T's for Golden State Warriors. Like, we'll get you off the waiver and we'll bring you back. But yeah, he'll be fine.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think he's a guy who could make it back into the NBL, like at some stage, if he needs to maybe rehabilitate himself or prove himself to some degree as well, because he was going to be, it looked like a G League guy for the Golden State Warriors all season long. But again, I think he's one of those guys whose goal and expectations has been making the NBA, and we'll definitely see him back there in the not too distant future as well. Bam Bam's asked, and this was an interesting one because I don't know how to answer this one, to be completely honest with you, but I'm going to throw it to you first anyways. Hear what you say, and I'll see if I agree or disagree at all. But he's asked, Mark Arena posted on X, always great when Mark's posting on X, that he would like a last 2-minute report like in the NBA. Do you think this is worthwhile? Do you think it could improve officiating, or will it just be ignored? Jai, what are your thoughts on this, mate?
I think it would be a good addition, but I just don't like the timing that Mark Arena did it. He just so happened to raise it after his team choked. So it sounds like it's more he's just kind of venting, and I'm not sure if he's actually serious about it. I personally think it would be a good idea, a little 2-minute report, and just people like explainers. People don't like not knowing what happened and stuff. We see stuff on screens. We don't understand the conversations that are happening. So like a perfect example would be Christian Doolittle receiving the tech. A lot of people would be like, oh, why did he receive the tech? It clearly, as soon as you walked off and they didn't protest it, he clearly said something he shouldn't have, and he knew about it. But it would be good in the 2-minute report to be like, at this point, something that we missed as fans, Doolittle was given a warning, and then we gave him the tech, and be like, all right, I'm reading this 2-minute report. I totally understand. I'm a bit more chill now. I think it would help the refs, transparency of the league. I think it would be a positive thing. What's your take?
Yeah, I'm of the same belief as well. And I want to digress a little bit. I don't know if this was Mark's way of kind of taking the heat and the sting of the game into a different direction and sort of going away from the no regrets comments and stuff like that, which were
absolutely
instantly everywhere. You know what I mean? And I think that was a reason for it. And on that behalf, I kind of go, okay, let's figure out a better time to sort of raise these concerns with the NBL, because this isn't the first time that he's done this as well this season alone. He's done it before as well. Now, that's Mark's side of it all. And again, without him posting this sort of stuff, we wouldn't be talking about it on this show either. So again, it is also important. I'm a big believer of this because I feel like we crucify players and coaches every single game, every single week. We crucify front offices for the decisions that they make throughout the season, and especially in post-season sort of reviews and everything like that as well. And we constantly go off at the referees, and it feels like nothing is done about it, especially in the NBL. Other sporting codes, if you have a poor week, you don't umpire the next week. It's kind of like back to the reserves, go do a state league game, go do something like that, and then we'll, watch your sort of the game and the way you referee, and then we'll think about bringing you back up. But the NBL, there's just no accountability for that at all. You can get away with being a poor referee for a whole season, and you've still got your green shirt or whatever the hell it is going into the next game as well. And that's what gets frustrating. So I would like to be able to hold these referees accountable. But what I would also like to see from the NBL as well, they've got that NBL Comms Twitter page. I would love if there was some way that the media on like a Monday afternoon, for example, could have a spokesperson from the referees department or from the NBL themselves who can ask the questions based around game decisions if there are controversial ones. Whether it's a missed foul call late in the game, whether it's a goaltend that wasn't called with 5 seconds to go, whether anything that has changed the shape of a game in the clutch moments. And I know it doesn't happen every single week, but it does happen a lot more than we probably give it credit for as well. There's big calls that aren't really made. And, I think it would be really, really beneficial for the league. You've got a different way of covering the league as well, where it's going to bring a lot more spark and a lot more eyes to the league as well, because everyone kind of loves bagging out the referees to a degree as well. But I think maybe that's something that the NBL should look at. But from a Mark Arena posting this after a disappointing loss where they gave up a 21-4 run in the last 5 minutes of that game to lose that game, I just think the timing could have been a little bit better. But the point, again, like you said as well, is probably a valid one that I'd like to see going forward as well. Now, Swish has got a couple of questions here, so we'll answer again. He asked one before. We'll answer this one here. Do you think the drop in viewership from NBL 25 to NBL 26 is a concern considering the money output from the teams/the leagues? Or is it simply down to Wednesday night Ignite Cup games? What do you think a little bit about this, Jai?
Yeah, I was actually looking at this the other day of just like stadium numbers and that, and I think it's the league can't predict what's happening, what's the context of the season, what happens. Like I've seen the Illawarra Hawk numbers stadium at home, and their numbers are going down because to me, that specific fan base want to see their team win. There are the loyal ones, and it's only like a $5,500 person stadium anyway. But the league can't control that, you know what I mean? So all Hawks are reigning champions are doing crap. So be it. It doesn't matter. The ratings in terms of, I do find myself forgetting there are like Wednesday night Ignite games. I actually forget that is a competition. I think the league could probably do a little bit better of a job of like advertising it more, and not just advertising it with, here, look, here's the graphics, here's the stuff like that. Maybe interviewing players more and being like hyping them up, saying like, 400 grand's on the line. Do you want to get? You can tell Breakers want the money for sure, because they're any Ignite game, they're like the best team ever. But yeah, I don't know. It's I haven't checked the viewership numbers. There's obviously a million different factors to it. People, especially in this holiday period as well. I just think it just depends on the context of the season, the game, the injuries, the players, who's doing well, who's not doing well. There will always be eyes, and basketball is one of the fastest growing sports in Australia, and New Zealand. I think it's nearly number one, which is crazy. So it would be good to see these Breakers do well there. But yeah, I personally think it's doing great, but the number wise, I think next season they should amend the Ignite games and maybe not do a Wednesday. But everyone likes Wednesday games, but I just don't think just make it regular season. I don't think it's some special logistics for families doesn't work. Like, it's too hard to get to games.
Yeah, I'm of the same belief as you. And I think at the start of the season, if I was to have asked myself the same question before round one, I would have gone, there's no way that I would have said at round 11 heading into round 12 that I don't want games on a Wednesday night. But I don't want games on a Wednesday night. And there's probably a number of reasons as to why. It gives us in the media such a quick turnaround from the games in the previous round to the next round. But I just don't think you get enough of a break from NBL basketball. And I think that's also important because you see in the NBA, and I know we play 49 less games than the guys in the NBA do, but there is such a discrepancy in viewership from games 1 to 10. And then it feels like from games 10 to 40 before the All-Star break, there is like a very massive lull where people just don't really care. And then the All-Star break expires. And then it's like, okay, we're getting back into the back end of the season now. The next 30 games, the viewership is on a steady rise the whole way to the end. And then playoffs, it explodes. And it feels like with the NBL, because of how quickly these games are turning around, where you're seeing your team potentially play like the Sydney Kings this week, 3 games in 5 days, it takes away the spark, I feel like, of Australian sport to a certain degree, where a lot of our sports are on a weekend. And you're competing right now against arguably one of the biggest world sports in cricket, where you've unfortunately got an Ashes series going on. And again, cricket is one of the biggest sports in the world, like I just said. And their series run from Thursday or Friday starts And then
Mm.
it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, maybe even a Tuesday, depending on the test. And that's cricket. And I look at it and I go, what's going to draw me on a Wednesday night to want to go down to a pub and drink beers with my mates, or want to go down to a stadium where it could be 45 minutes from my house, or drag my kids out on a school night to go watch a game on a Wednesday night and then come home late and then go to school the next day as well in the middle of the week, and then potentially we're going back Saturday again. It just doesn't really draw the same appeal for me. And maybe it's because we're seeing so many teams play 2 games every single week that we're starting to lose that, oh my God, my team's playing again. And if you play 2 games at home, it's kind of like, well, I'm going to go to that one, but I'm not going to go to that one. So I don't know. The viewership numbers it's probably a little bit of a concern that they have dropped. But again, though, what is the viewership numbers? Is that just the TV numbers? Maybe. But I think a lot across the board, if you go look at attendances, outside of probably the Hawks and even maybe just the Cairns Taipans, everyone's viewership and attendance numbers are relatively good comparative of where they were last season. Some are even better than where they were last season as well. So again, it really does come part and parcel with what way you do look at it. I'm not really too concerned with the NBL. I think they're going to learn a lot from the Ignite Cup, and I don't think we'll see Wednesday night games. I think we'll see, if they are to do an Ignite Cup next season, it'll be a Thursday night thing as well, and really diving into the weekend going forward. Now, Swish has got another question as well. Can we see the Cairns Taipans make a push for the number 6 seed now they are growing closer to somewhat full health? I'll take this one away quickly. Again,
I actually don't think that was a Swish question. I just didn't put the person's name.
We'll figure
So
out.
whoever you are for that question, thank you so much.
100%. So I'm going to go with this one a little bit here as well. I don't necessarily think that we'll see them make a push for the number 6 seed, because right now I think they're 4 games behind the 6 seed, or 3 games behind the 6 seed. So I think they're 4-12. Breakers are 7-10. So yeah, we're 3 games behind the 6 seed. Not a lot of room to make up. But again, though, it just looks like teams around them are starting to somewhat figure it out. You've got the New Zealand Breakers now, who are starting to play incredible basketball. I believe they're winners in 4 of their last 5 games and are looking quite strong with Parker Jackson Cartwright, Sam Menenga, Isaiah Brockington starting to find his feet as well. Karim Lopez, it looks like that minutes restriction slowly dwindling away. So they're getting better. You got the Jack Jumpers, who you expect at some point to make a little bit of a run just with the caliber of their roster. You would expect the Hawks to make a run. I know their early season form hasn't been great. So you've got teams ahead of them already with a couple of wins looking to probably get better. I know the Taipans are going to get better, but for me, seeing them push for the 6th seed, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's pretty close to, I think, in my head, Jai. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just think the season's a write-off. I think they've had too many injuries. Probably they're just not a good team, to put it bluntly. Like I do think Sam Wardenberg coming back, and then Rain Smith returning. I think he's coming back on New Year's Eve, I believe.
Yep.
And then, those 2 will help. But, Admiral Schofield's been very disappointing. I'm waiting for him to turn around, but every game is just not happening. Jack McVeigh returning, and then I want to see Wardenberg and McVeigh on the same court together. I think they'll cause some little upsets, but overall, I don't think they're going to push. I would be shocked if they actually made 10 wins this season. It's just, unfortunately, it's just another line through the season for Cairns Taipans fans, which is pretty depressing in terms of like the off-season moves they had, the amount of money they spent. So I want to say come back stronger next year, but I don't know what they're going to do to warrant that, unfortunately.
What the concern is for me, though, and again, his face is down here somewhere. I'll get it eventually. And it's Sam Wardenberg. Now, if this club can't find a way to show him that they are a team that can contend in future seasons, they will not keep him. There is no way that Sam Wardenberg will stay with the Cairns Taipans. And I think by him signing a 1-year deal this season, there was a lot of contingencies around that as well. Who's my coach going to be? What's the system going to be? Are we successful? Are we building? Are we spending money? I think a player like him, he's a franchise local player. He's your Xavier Cooks in a few years, who you're paying big money as your marquee local. He's your Jack McVeigh potentially when Jack moves or if he goes back to the NBA. He is that caliber of a player. And you have to sell that the franchise is moving in a good and positive direction to these guys for them to want to stick around, because he's going to receive offers like we see every year from Cairns Taipans players. You see a steady progression that Adam Ford gets them to, and then they hit the peak of where the Cairns Taipans can get them to in terms of happiness, win, loss, all that sort of stuff. And then they go to a Sydney, or they go to a Melbourne, or they go to a Perth, or they go to a Brisbane. They leave the Cairns Taipans for more money and a bit more success. And being a New Zealand-born athlete and a New Zealand and a Kiwi as well, the Breakers are going to go very hard for him next season. They were already going hard for him this season as well. And he signed a 1-year deal. And I think they'll go very hard for him next season as well. Him alongside Sam Menenga, you will see what the Cairns Taipans were trying to build years ago. And it would just be such a versatile 4-5. I hope Dylan Boucher is listening right now. Dylan Boucher, sorry, mate. But I hope you're listening right now, because that is a combination that I want to see in the NBL next season. You think they go after the right player. Rob Baker was somewhat of the right player, but you get a Sam Wardenberg next to a Sam Menenga. That combination is deadly, and what the Cairns Taipans were trying to build a few years ago. So that's what I want to say for the Cairns Taipans. I think they can get to about 14, 15 wins. So, you're looking at sort of 9 wins over the next sort of 16, 17 games roughly they've got to play. So I believe that's sort of where they're at. So I think they're going to make a little bit of a run. And does that
they have
one
game
6?
at home?
I think they'll get it going, though. A lot of those games and everything. And the flow-on effect from Sam Wardenberg coming back is it's going to take a lot of pressure on the offensive end off Jack McVeigh. You're going to take a lot of pressure off Kyron Galloway, Marcus Lee, who are playing small ball and small ball 5 for Galloway, and then obviously a foul dominant sort of guy in Marcus Lee. You're going to take pressure off those guys. Wardenberg can facilitate. You're taking pressure off Andrew Andrews. What he does to the team structure, I believe, is very, very influential, and could, at the end of the season, we could look back and go, he was the most important player on a single roster, because look at what they were and look at what they become as well. So, again, plenty of sort of games to play out. We're getting a little bit excited off one game with me personally from the Cairns Taipans, but we'll see what Wardenberg does when he gets back into the team. We've got 2 more questions here, though, as well. Execute82 has asked, would you start David Aquera over Joe Lawala-Chul? He's added here as well. Joe Lawala-Chul just looks uninterested and no effort on a consistent basis on defense. Jai, I'll let you take this one away as well, because watching that game live against LA 36ers, I had a little bit more of an insight into the whole JLA experience in that particular game. But what are some of your thoughts on this one, mate?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think watching Aquarius having a career season so far, career high 5.9 points a game. He's only playing 11 minutes a game. So if you want to do the whole per 36 minutes per stuff like that, he's having a pretty good season. Obviously you're not going to start JLA over him. He's the spark off the bench. He plays that role really well. Length, versatility, he's a blocking machine. But on the JLA section, I don't ever recall, I don't know if you have seen this, but like in interviews, he's a bit of a dick, and I don't know why. Like, and I don't know if it's just me, but like I think Annalee Maley was interviewing him, and he was just giving real blunt responses. And I get they're generic questions, they're boring questions, but I'm like, you're a basketballer, this is part of your job. Just anything, man. But he's just like one answer, stop. And he did this like 2 weeks ago in post-match press conferences. I get it, you're frustrated, you're lost. But he just does real blunt responses, and I know he probably doesn't like the media as much, but when it comes to pre-match interviews and that, I'm like, I don't know why he's doing that. And then I look at that, is that another layer? Is there a frustration happening behind the scenes where he's just fed up with stuff? I don't think he's $1 million player. I think he is smart and leveraged purse desperation to sign a marquee big man, and then he did that. But you mentioned before that and I did see this, but you were closer to me at the game than me. You mentioned that there were some on-court issues with some players, of JLA going after some players and that. So you could just go into more detail, because I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, there was a few things, unfortunately, that I sort of observed when I was watching this game. And the first one was, and I can't remember the exact play, but I remember looking back and seeing JLA and Sunday Detch on the far corner of the 3-point line, and JLA just kind of like hand movements and kind of yelling, and it was just like he looked quite irate, and then that continued all the way to the half court line. Now, obviously, they've got a really good relationship from all things considered, and maybe that's the type of relationship where, again, you can have those tough conversations and things like that as well, but it just didn't look good from the outside looking in. So that was one of the things as well. There was a couple of other moments where there was some little spits and spats at teammates as well, but what the most concerning thing for me was was when you were looking at timeouts, and this wasn't every single timeout, let's just put this bear in mind as well, but there was a handful of timeouts where instead of sitting in the huddle, or being around the huddle, he would distance himself and go and sit on the scorer's bench. And that is never, ever a good look when you are in the heat of battle with a team. I don't care how bad your frustrations are. Pick your bottom lip up, go stand with your team, or go sit down the end of the bench. Do not pull yourself away and push yourself on the scorer's bench, because fans are watching and fans were taking photos, and there's photos on the group chats which have since been taken down because people, again, are not wanting to be too harsh on the players. But you just cannot do that for a number of reasons as well. And I think there's frustration brewing behind. I don't know if it's because the Perth Wildcats potentially have said, okay, you're the man this season. This is your team, your franchise. And maybe he's not getting the touches and the looks that he wants to be getting as the man. But again, though, this comes down to it being a very balanced and spread team, which I don't think suits post-play every single time down the court. There is no way, barring Nikola Jokic in world basketball, where a post-dominant big man who can pass and facilitate the ball dominates basketball around the world. It just doesn't happen. You can't just keep feeding your big man every single play and allowing him to score, facilitate, or do something incredible in the offensive end. Now, the defensive end's concerning as well. I think he's averaging 1.9 blocks. That doesn't tell the whole story, though, because he's getting manhandled. The amount of times that Isaac Humphries just went through him, Zylan Cheatham over him, he's just getting dominated across the board as well. And I think the lack of help from the Perth Wildcats is frustrating him as well. There's just a number of things. So, I don't know. I just observed a very disconnected, frustrated JLA on Sunday afternoon. And again, it was a very big emotion game with Bryce Cotton. And I don't know if that played a factor as well. But I don't know. I'm just not liking what I'm seeing from Joe Lawala-Chul again as the $1 million man. Because what kind of sort of goals are you playing for? You've already got your contracts now. So there's nothing of like, okay, I've got to play for my next contract now. There's nothing to play for.
Well, he's got 2 years already.
And that's the thing. And it's just like, there's nothing to play for when you are a guy of his caliber on that type of money, as the number one guy. It's like, it doesn't matter. If I play good, I get paid. If I play bad, I get paid. It doesn't matter. So again, it's very, very frustrating for a number of reasons as well. Last question here though, Jai, from our fans. We've gone a little bit over time, so we'll probably have a very, very short round 12 preview. Do you reckon Perth will go on a big winning streak after the fourth quarter collapse, or will it be the opposite? Jai, take it away, mate. What have you got?
Yeah, I don't think that. The upcoming round, I know they've got Sydney, which is a big game.
Schedule up here. Yep.
Which is obviously quite a big game because both teams are desperate for a win. If Daly comes back, that's big, huge. That's huge for Sydney. But then you look at, they got Brisbane, then they got Phoenix, and they got Tasmania. So there are winnable games there. But for the rest of the season, like, I was actually shocked when I was looking at the standings before. They're only 2 losses away from 500. Which is, and I feel like they've been playing better than that. Like that United game where they won, that was the ceiling they go to. And that is a pretty, not a championship winning team, but that's a team good enough to get into the finals. And then, it will let the history play out, whatever happens there. But I just thought they were doing better. I think they've already lost 4 games at home, and they only lost 6 last season in the entirety. So, as you mentioned before, they're like a very well-rounded team, and John really in post-match press conferences says he wants to give everyone a chance. But I'm like, again, who's the guy? Who is the guy to do that? So I think it'll be a very frustrating second half of the season for Perth Wildcat fans. I think they'll finish around like the 17-15 type mark, top 4. Like that's what it takes. I think that will be Sem, Adelaide, and Melbourne, and then the rest. But yeah, where they go, they could go up or down. It's literally just, flip of a coin at this stage for me. So, yeah, we'll see how they go.
Yeah, so they go home game, away game, home game, and then they play the next 5 away from home as well. So 6 of the next 8 games are away from home, where this season they're 5-3 on the road. Now, that's where it's going to be the biggest tell sign about what this team is made of and how close and connected this team is, that massive away stretch from RSC Arena. And that's where the tough conversations are going to be had between all these players. This is where they'll sort out the dramas that we may be seeing behind the scenes, which aren't maybe dramas. Maybe we're reading into things that aren't really there. We do that all the time in the media. We understand that as well. But again, there's a track record of certain little things that players do that we see are bigger and things that are brewing behind the scenes as well. So again, I don't think they're going to go on a big winning streak. I just don't think that's what this team is built. I don't think it's built to just go on massive runs and win 10 games in a row. This team is built to just be around the mark every single game, and they'll win some and they'll lose some. So I think they'll probably go 3-3 over the next sort of 6 games and probably go 4-4 over the next 8 games. That's the type of team that I look at.
They really are like the even Steven team this season, aren't they?
100%. And without a point guard, that's what you get. That's exactly what you get when you haven't got a guy who can lead your team. You haven't got that closer guy. You're just another team, it does feel like, for the Perth Wildcats, who I believe overpaid certain players, maybe signed other players too early, and obviously lost the greatest player of all time. So again, we digress, but let's move into our round 12. No regrets, easy as that. Round 12 preview though as well. So I've just got up, I think Friday looks like the day for round 12 when we do look at it for a number of reasons as well, from more of a contenders type of point of view. So the first game on Friday night is the Adelaide 36ers taking on Melbourne United in Adelaide. The Adelaide 36ers now are the number 1 team in the league and have been building that now for the last couple of months as well. Then you got Melbourne United 0-2, who just need a win. That's as simple as it is. And that's their first game back from this 0-2 sort of run that we've seen over the last weekend as well. So that is a massive game. And then you mix that up as well with the Perth Wildcats taking on the Sydney Kings on Friday night, which that has massive implications as well. The Sydney Kings, again, on a little bit of a slide, 1-2 in their past 3 games. Perth Wildcats, very disappointing loss to the Adelaide 36ers and a massive chance to kind of get back in the winners column as well. So what are some of your thoughts on those games, on round 12 itself, Jar? Because again, there's some pretty impressive games across the board when you do look at it.
I'm curious to see, for me, I want to see the Sam Waterberg return. I'm very hyped. I love the player. But at the same time, as Cairns, that's a danger game for Tasmania, because Tasmania, not many people are talking about Tasmania, but they're not playing very well. And I'm really concerned that if they somehow lose to Cairns, this could be like the start of a really bad second half of the season for them. I wish Tyler Campbell could start picking things up a little bit. Bryce Hamilton would do Bryce Hamilton things, great import. But yeah, I think the Adelaide-Melbourne match is the game of the round, top of the table clash. I think Adelaide will scrape away with like a 3-point win, get revenge. I think they lost 80-81 last time they played. From a Tyson Walker game-winning 3. But another one I'm curious about is 2 surging teams in Phoenix and the Breakers. So like Phoenix have been up there all season, but a lot of people are hyping up on the Breakers now, and I would be shattered if I'm sick of them doing this. Just any team in general, actually. They're just going like this, and then they lose, and then we're like, okay, now I get it. They're back to reality. So I would like the Breakers to, pun intended, but break through that barrier and break through that barrier and get a bit. That's probably one of the biggest scalps, and just like, let the league know that like when we're fully fit, we're actually a pretty good team.
Yeah, I'm excited by that as well when you are looking at the New Zealand Breakers, and I think you're bang on as well. I'm just trying to see the last time if they've played this season. So they have played this season just the once, where it was an 87-81 victory for the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix as well over there in New Zealand. So yeah, that's a massive game, and you're starting to see, like you mentioned, the team finding their groove. And I think they're really starting to hone in on certain players now. Sam Menenga is becoming very important. It looks like Parker Jackson Cartwright's been handed the keys fully once again. It might sound strange to look at his statistics and his output and everything as well and kind of go, he was always the man. But I think they were always trying to find Isaiah Brockington's spot in this particular team throughout the start of the season.
Yeah.
And I think now they've sort of hit like that midway point and they've kind of gone, this ain't working. It's time to go back to what we know, and that's Parker being our number one option, our facilitator, our scorer. He's always been our leader, all that sort of stuff as well. And the team's picked up as well. I think he had 16 and 12, I believe, against the Tasmania Jack Jumpers in that massive win, on Tiger Campbell, who was absolutely abysmal, like you mentioned earlier. So, they're looking really, really strong. But yeah, you're bang on with the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. A disappointing loss in OT to the Illawarra Hawks. Nothing outside of a clinical masterclass from QJ Peterson, who, again, showed the inconsistencies in his game because he has that game and then goes and plays against the Cairns Taipans. I think he had less than 10 points in that particular outing. So, they just got a hot player on one of those nights. So I'm excited to see it. I think Sem are going to make a run in the playoffs just because of how good their defense is. And we all know what the old mantra is: defense wins championships and offense sells tickets. And that's exactly what Josh King, and he's kind of got the best of both worlds. And I want to ask you this quickly before we do wrap up about the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Is this the most complete version we've seen of Nathan Sobey, or is his statistics heightened because of the role and I guess the sort of loose leash that he's able to play with under Josh King to a certain degree?
I think this is, and I hate saying it because I used to be an absolute mega Sobey hater, but
same.
he's grown on me, and I keep, the more people I talk to, the more I get into this industry. He's an all-round just top bloke. He could be a bit robotic, which people might think he's a bit standoffish, but he's playing unreal basketball, and it's not just his shot selection is still there, or still have you scratching your head sometimes, but he makes up for it. The hustle. He's 35 years old. He is running down the court. He will literally die to get that ball. And I think King's just bringing the best out of him. He's unlocked some confidence. He's done it with Jordan Hunter. Jordan Hunter is now one of apparently the best 3-point shooters on the planet.
Ridiculous.
He's got a good thing going. And this is what happens. He had a whole offseason to orchestrate his team. He doesn't need flashy players. Vrenz Bigerberg, he's gone. And then Hunter Maldonado, you say what you want about him, but they're getting wins. What do you like?
Yeah, I think I'm going to just say something now as well. If these two teams continue on the way that they're going in the path and the progression that we do believe they're going to, these two teams will feature the most award winners at the end of the season. That's my little thing right now. So you're going to have, next generation award. Sam Menenga's still actually old enough for that. We've seen it in previous years. Hasn't always been the NBL next stars that win those awards unless their seasons are absolutely incredible. But you've got Menenga and Lopez for obviously the New Zealand Breakers. Owen Foxwell, I believe, as well. Potentially he's in that under 25 category as well for Southeast Phoenix. You got Sixth Man of the Year. You've got Angus Glover, who probably looks like the clubhouse leader right now. Defensive Player of the Year, John Brown is definitely leading that charge right now as well. So, these two teams have got a number of guys, and Josh King could be the Coach of the Year when it's all said and done if the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix can get this team to being a top 3 contender in the league, when I had them, I believe, as the worst team in the league as well. And I think a lot of other people had them, sort of in that bottom 6.
I had him third last.
Yeah, well, there you go. So you had him outside of the 6, and a lot of people had them between 6 and 10. There wasn't many people that had it between 1 and 5. So yeah, he's done an incredible job with this team. But that'll wrap up today's episode, Jai. It's been a good one to finally be back podcasting, and I know we say this every single week when we get back on the screens, but this will become a consistent thing. But I understand until you see it, you may not well and truly believe it, and I completely understand as well. But Jai, mate, another great episode. What are some of your thoughts? And yeah, obviously making sure everyone's checking out NBL alumni as well. Your great work over there as well.
Yeah, we are always appreciative of anyone who listens to this. And I get it, this is a longer episode. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this far ahead. Keen for the rest of the season. I think we've only just scratched the surface of what the season's going to deliver. And with the NBL alumni stuff, it's going to get better. Hopefully next year, I'm going to land all the players have been awesome, tier 1, every single one. But I want to start scratching the surface in terms of players from 3 to 4 seasons ago. So we'll see how that goes. And then I have some players who just want to vent from their time with the team. So we'll see how that goes. But it's not here to cause drama and stuff. We just want to get players' understandings. There's always unanswered questions when players leave. So people just like to find that stuff out. And it's just here to provide a bit of transparency, and it's good to know these imports don't just forget about the NBL, and they continue to watch it as they're playing in Europe and stuff.
Yeah, I think one thing as well, drop a comment down below with some players' names that you'd like to see on the NBL alumni series as well. I'll give you 2. I'd like to see
please.
Casper Ware. He'd be one that I would absolutely
I
love to see.
have got Caspar,
Nice. Well, there we go. There's a little
but not till
spoiler for
January. I
2026
forgot to
there as
tell you
well.
that.
No, that's awesome. I'm excited to see that one. And the other one for me as well, he was my favorite, and I still think he's up there as one of my favorite big men in the NBL, probably from more of an on-court perspective than an off-court perspective. But Mr. Sean Long as well, incredible basketball player,
Oh, yeah.
dominated for a number of years at a number of different teams as well in the NBL. He's another guy that I'd love to see. I believe he's recently retired from professional basketball as well. So he might be one to potentially jump on there as well. But like I said, make sure you drop a comment down with any feedback, names for the NBL Alumni Series, and questions as well. We'll check the comments and everything as well, and potentially take a couple of these questions into the next sort of episode as well from the NBL Show. But until next time, that has been another edition of the NBL Show presented by Fox Sport, and we will see you next week.